The meeting will please come to order. I would ask everyone to stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's invocation is being offered by Council Member Sean McGuire.
Would you please pray with me? Father God, we thank you for the blessings of this day. We ask that you bless our meeting this evening and pray that our decisions and our discourse are holy and pleasing to you. We ask that you bless and keep our men and women of our armed services who are putting themselves in harm's way to protect our freedom and our way of life. And we ask this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes of our August 19th meeting? We have a motion and a second, so without objection, they will stand approved. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
Thank you. We're now at elections and confirmations. Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee met this afternoon and considered the reappointment of Mr. Dan Covington and Mr. Mark Kursky to the Agricultural Extension Board. We also considered the appointment of Ms. Grace Guerra Woodbright and Ms. Betty Kirkland to the Community Corrections Advisory Board. We considered the reappointment of Mr. F. Clay Bailey, Ms. Lula Brooks, Mr. Jim Hubler, and Ms. Linda Wynn for reappointment to the Historical Commission, and we also considered the appointment of Mr. J.R. Harrell to the Property Standards and Appeals Board. All of those were recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0, and I would move their approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Dan Covington, Mark Kursky, Grace Guerra Woodbright, Betty Kirkland, Clay Bailey, Lula Brooks, Jim Hubler, Linda Wynn, and J.R. Harrell. On behalf of the entire Metropolitan Council, thank you all for your willingness to donate your time and your expertise to our great city. Thank you very much. Before we go any farther in our agenda, I would like to welcome our newest member, Councilmember Hager. Would you stand up and be recognized? We are now at bills on public hearing. First is BL 2013-392, changes 39.09 acres from SP to RS80 zoning for property located at Sawyer Brown Road unnumbered, approximately 540 feet from Meadow Lane Drive. Councilmember Weiner.
Move to open the public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, the public hearing is closed.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move to defer indefinitely.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of indefinite deferral, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2014-853, changes 2.04 acres from R10 to OL and OL to SP zoning for a portion of property located at 410 Donaldson Pike to permit up to 15 residential units. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you. Open the public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you. I would move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-854 changes .14 acres from R6 to SP zoning for property located at 404 South 16th Street to permit 3 detached units. Councilmember Westerheim.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I move to open the public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Councilmember Westerheim.
I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-855 changes 15.4 acres from RS-15 to SP zoning for property located at 4214 Central Pike to permit a mixture of uses. Councilmember Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would ask that we open the public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Councilmember Glover.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would move approval with just a very brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second.
Thank you, ma'am.
Councilman.
We're going to add an amendment on the third of this for a utility easement, and just want to make sure that the people in my district understand that we are going to be doing that on the next reading. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Once again, renew my move.
All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. Any abstentions? We have one abstention. Councilmember Hager. Thank you. Next is BL 2014-856, changes 1.83 acres from R40 to SP zoning for property located at 7295 Sonia Drive to permit up to 16 residential dwelling units. Councilmember Weiner.
Thank you. Move to open the public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Councilmember Weiner.
Move approval, please.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-857 changes 1.66 acres from IR to MULA zoning for property located at 800 44th Avenue North. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Open the public hearing, please.
Mr. Cooper.
We actually can't hold the public hearing tonight since the Planning Commission hasn't acted on it. I believe the applicant requested the Planning Commission to defer it indefinitely. I think Kerry Logan can confirm that.
Okay, I defer indefinitely.
We have a motion and a second for indefinite deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-858 changes .9 acres from SP to SP zoning for property located at Bell Road unnumbered and approximately 200 feet south of Eagle View Boulevard to permit a restaurant. Councilmember Dow.
I move to open the public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, anyone in support wish to speak? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Councilmember Dow.
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2014-859, changes .16 acres from RS5 to SP zoning for property located at 1008 Joseph Avenue to permit up to 2 detached dwelling units. Councilmember Scott Davis. Okay, we'll move it to the heel of the entire agenda and come back to it. We're now at resolutions on the consent agenda. I will read those that are on consent. And what I have on consent is RS 2014-1205, 1206, 1207, 1208, 1211, 1212, and 1214. 1205 approves an Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant from the U.S. Department of Justice to the Metro Police Department for technology upgrades, supplies, and training. 1206 approves an agreement between Metro government and the Emergency Communications District for services and reimbursements of costs pertaining to enhanced 911 services. 1207 approves an internship affiliation agreement between Nashville Career Advancement Center and the University of Tennessee College of Social Work to provide field and internship instruction for social work students. 1208 approves a grant from the Greater Nashville Regional Council to Metro Social Services Commission for personal care services, homemaker, and nutrition services. 1212 recognizes court-appointed special advocates on the occasion of their 30th anniversary. And 1214 recognizes the Star-Spangled Banner on its 200th anniversary. I'm sorry, I skipped 1211 that approves the elections of notaries public for Davidson County. Do any of these need to be pulled? Okay, I will need committee reports. Councilmember Pridemore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. 1205, 1206, 1208, and 1209 were all voted approved by Budget and Finance, 11 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Health, Hospitals, and Social Services Committee did Resolution 2014-1208, 6 for, 0 against, so it was approved.
Thank you. Councilmember Weiner.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Personnel Committee recommended approval of 1207, 5 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Safety Beer Regulated Beverages approved 1205 and 1206, 4 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Rules Committee recommended approval for 1211, 1212, and 1214, 8 in favor, 0 opposed. Was 1213?
We'll come back to that one.
Okay. And I would move approval of the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We will now go back to the items that are not on the consent agenda. RS 2014-1209 approves an intergovernmental agreement between Metro and the State Department of Environment and Conservation for the cleanup and cost recovery of the River Village apartment complex. Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance approved, 11 for, 0 against.
Need the other committee reports.
Right.
The sponsor of this one.
The other committee. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'd like to report the other committees, please.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Health, Hospitals, and Social Services Committee approved Resolution 1209, 5 for, 1 abstention.
Thank you. Councilmember Pridemore, would you like to move approval?
I move for approval. Thank
We
you.
have a motion and a second. Councilmember Tiger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the Health and Hospital Committee, there were some questions that were raised. Basically, these were legal issues concerning the protection for Metro government. Here is a renegade landowner that's let his property go. He's partners in many other properties. And if I could direct some questions to Metro Legal or Mr. Cooper concerning the protection of taxpayers of that money and what efforts are being made to collect those funds.
Who do you prefer, legal or Mr. Cooper?
Legal, I would suspect.
I think
Councilman, every effort is being made to pursue this. The original action was in General Sessions Court for codes violation. Coming out of that was a judgment against this owner for an injunction, fines, as well as a body attachment. The matter was appealed to Circuit Court, at which time Metro added to it a nuisance claim for the cost of the cleanup. In addition to that, another lawsuit was filed against this owner in Chancery Court seeking the recovery of the $150,000 of civil fines that had been levied against him. Subsequent to all this, the owner filed for bankruptcy in the bankruptcy court in California. We then entered into that matter and filed a motion in the bankruptcy court in California seeking the bankruptcy court to discharge these or not allow these matters to be part of the bankruptcy proceeding. The court indicated willingness to go along with our position, but ultimately, upon pleading by on behalf of the owner, was given about an additional week or so to file further motion or further memorandum in response to his position. This has all occurred within the last week, the bankruptcy matter. And then if that wasn't enough, we've also filed a Chancery Court lawsuit against the owner to sell his property for failure to unpaid back taxes.
Thank you. So the bottom line is, what actions can Metro government take against slumlords in this that use all legal means and, according to the district council member, even left the state and may or may not ever come back to the state? Are there measures to actually force the sale of this property, and would Metro be at the top of the pecking order should any proceeds be realized?
Well, in this particular agreement, I believe the recovery of the cost of cleanup will be paid to the state since they are paying the costs. The actions that we have taken against this individual kind of run the gamut of both codes violations and collections of fines and trying to eliminate the possibility of bankruptcy being a scapegoat.
So if the property were, if funds were available, the state would be, and TDEC would be at the top of the pecking order for the $250,000 for the hazardous waste removal.
Correct, because they're paying for it.
And then Metro would be, because the other lawsuits would be next in order?
Well, they're different lawsuits, so I don't know what the future holds as far as getting $250,000 for the cost of cleanup and then a $150,000 fine when someone has filed bankruptcy. It's not a great, it doesn't project for great results, but we're out there, we're trying to do everything that we can legally under the system.
If this individual has other ownership interest in partnerships and whatnot, does that come into play in terms of assets that would be available to this government?
Well, if the government has a judgment against him, anything that we could go after, we would certainly go after. It's just a matter of finding it and finding that it's not encumbered by something else or tied up with other ownership.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Call for question.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of previous question, please say aye. Opposed, no. Previous question passes. Next is RS 2014-20. I'm sorry, we need a vote on the resolution. We had a motion and a second on approval. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is RS 2014-1210, approves a grant from the Friends of Two Rivers Mansion to Metro Parks and Recreation Department to provide partial funding for a parks employee. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you. Could we have the committee reports, please?
Councilmember Bennett.
Parks Committee voted to approve 5-4, 0 against, 1 abstention.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance approved, 11-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Claiborne.
I would move for approval, and as the founder of the Friends Group, I need to abstain from the vote.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman Tiger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This Two Rivers Mansion is a treasure in Nashville, and it represents the best of a public-private partnership and the formation of a nonprofit and the saving of a historical building. I would like to ask the sponsor some of the details as to how they raise money and the efforts that they have gone through to bring this project to fruition, in the hope that other council members, myself included, might use this model to produce results for the rest of Nashville. Thank you. And I yield the rest of my time to Councilman Claiborne.
Before we move forward, I need for Councilmember Pridemore to make the motion for approval, since Councilmember Claiborne has to abstain.
I make a motion for approval, please.
And we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Claiborne.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilman. I'm always glad to talk about the success of Two Rivers Mansion. As all of you know, Two Rivers Mansion is a publicly owned property. It came into the ownership of Metro government in 1966, when the last surviving widow of the third McGavick family at Two Rivers died and left the property to Vanderbilt University. A sale took place. Metro government, as a new government, was looking for adequate park space on the east side of the county at that time, and the almost 500 acres that was available formed Two Rivers Park, the golf course, eventually the wave pool, a campus for a new high school, and the mansion was left on 14 acres of its own footprint. And so as public properties, especially historic properties, go that are publicly owned, there are lean times and there are good times. And in recent years, the mansion has fell on something of leaner times. So about 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, I decided that I would do what I could to try to turn the condition of the mansion in a positive direction. And through the help of the mayor's office, the finance director, and others, we were able to get funds to completely renovate and restore the exterior of the mansion. Some work on the inside of the mansion, as well as the historic 1802 house that sits on the property. And so today I can tell you that Two Rivers Mansion is probably in as good a shape as it's been since the late 1880s, 1890s. We were able to form the Friends group based on the model of the Friends of Centennial Park, which is now the Conservancy. And so previously, any activity that took place at the mansion, say for instance a wedding, there was a rental fee. That fee went into the general fund of Metro government. It didn't go to the benefit of the Parks Department, and it certainly didn't go to the benefit of the mansion. And so using the model of the Conservancy, we established the model where all activities at the mansion are scheduled through the Friends group. And instead of a rental for, again, an example of a wedding, now a prospective bride or her father would take a membership in the Friends of Two Rivers, which is a 501c3 organization. So that fee now, or that membership fee, is a tax-deductible expense because it's going to support a 501c3. So Dad gets a tax deduction. The bride gets to be married in one of the most beautiful buildings in Davidson County, and the money stays with the Friends group to go back into the mansion. Our mission is threefold: to preserve the mansion, or to restore the mansion, to preserve the mansion, and to promote the mansion and make it available to the general public.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Mitchell?
Call for question.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of previous question, please say aye. Opposed, no. Previous question passes. We're back on the original motion. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2014-1214 recognizes the Star Spangled Banner on its 200th anniversary. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval, please.
1213 is the one.
I was going to say, I'm happy that we were going to talk about this, but we don't really need to.
I am so sorry, it's 12:13. I apologize.
No worries.
It's not a Sister City Friendship City
No, this
thing.
is about,
I'd marked the wrong one on my agenda. Councilmember Allen, 1213, approves a sister city relationship with Kamakura, Japan, and authorizes the mayor to execute a sister city charter. Councilmember Allen.
committee reports, please.
Councilmember Harmon.
Rules, confirmations, and public elections approved 8-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen.
There's a substitute that I would like to move.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the substitute. Any discussion?
It's just a housekeeping.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Substitute passes.
I'd like to move the
Councilmember
resolution.
Allen.
Thank you. I'd like to move the resolution as substituted.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. My apologies to Councilmember Allen and Councilmember Berry for the confusion there. We're now at bills on introduction and first reading. Do any of these need to be pulled? Is there a motion for their approval? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. We have a late filed ordinance on first reading. It closes and abandons portions of the right-of-way and easements for alleys number 115 and 123 and authorizes the execution of a quitclaim deed to convey any interest Metro government possesses in right-of-way that would not already be extinguished by the abandonment. Councilmember Gilmore.
Yes, I'd like to move for a suspension of the rules.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, Councilmember Gilmore.
Yes, thank you. The nature of the suspension, I think you just shared that, so I just would like to move the bill.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no.
Thank you.
Motion passes. We are now at bills on second reading. Please put your phones on stun. So they vibrate only. BL 2014-835 changes .49 acres from R8 to SP zoning for property located at 813 Beach Avenue to permit up to 7 detached residential units. Councilmember Moore.
I'm so sorry. I thought it was on 8:33. I'm going to defer this one meeting, Vice Mayor.
Need a committee report.
Oh, committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning Historic Committee vote to defer one meeting for 8:35.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore.
I'm going to move to defer. I have just a brief explanation.
One meeting?
One meeting deferral.
We have a motion and a second for one meeting deferral. Councilmember Moore.
This particular bill, I just have not had the opportunity to have a community meeting on it yet, and that's why I'm deferred in one more meeting.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-861 approves the acquisition of various easements and other property interests for 70 properties for the Brick Church Pike Gravity Sewer Pipe and Upgrade Project. Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that
I need some committee reports.
committee reports.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you. Public Works approved 3-4-0 against.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance voted to defer by rule 11-0.
Thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and Zoning actually voted to defer one meeting because I was late getting to the meeting, and I'd like to pass this bill after suspending the rules.
Is there any objection to a suspension of the rules? Seeing none, Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you. I'd like to move the bill as presented.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Motion passes. BL 2014-862 authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way, drainage, and temporary construction easements and property rights for 3 properties on North DuPont Avenue for a sidewalk project. Councilmember Pridemore.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Public Works approved 6-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved Bill 862, 940 against.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget Finance approved 11-0, so I move for the bill. Move forward.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-863 authorizes the acquisition, right-of-way, drainage, and temporary construction easements and property rights for 7 properties on Lebanon Pike for a sidewalk project. Councilmember Claiborne.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Public Works voted to approve 6-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning voted to approve 863, 940 against.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance approved 11-4-0 against.
Councilmember Claiborne.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-864 authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way, drainage, and temporary construction easements and other property interests for 13 properties located on Lishi Avenue for a sidewalk project. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you. Committee reports.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you. Public Works voted to approve 6-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning approved 864, 940 against.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance approved 11-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Harrison.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-865 authorizes the acquisition of right-of-way, drainage, and temporary construction easements and other property interests for 8 properties on Elysian Fields Road for a sidewalk project. Councilmember Harmon.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you. Public Works voted to approve 6-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning voted to approve 865, 940 against.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance approved 11-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Harmon.
I would move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-866 accepts permanent and temporary easements for the Berrywood Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for property located at 5037 Timber Hill Drive. Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Public Works voted to approve 5-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning voted to approve 866, 940 against.
Councilmember Harmon.
I would move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-867 accepts a permanent easement for a stormwater improvement project for property located at 2617 Neldea Court. Councilmember Davis, Anthony Davis.
I'll ask for committee reports, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning voted to approve 940 against.
Public Works.
Public Works approved 5-4-0 against. I'd like to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-868 abandons retained easement rights in a former right-of-way for a property located at 5300 Indiana Avenue. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Public Works voted to approve 3-4-0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning voted to approve Bill 868, 940 against.
Councilmember Baker.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-869 abandons an existing sewer pump station and easement and accepts 216 linear feet of 8-inch public sewer main for property located at 6019 Mountain View Road. Councilmember Duval.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you. Public Works voted to approve, 4-0 against.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and Zoning voted to approve Bill 869, 940 against.
Councilmember Duval.
Move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014 authorizes, 870 authorizes Metro government to enter into a participation agreement with Normandy 2 General Partners to fund a portion of the operation and maintenance of a public pressure sewer extension at Fawn Crossing Development. Councilmember Duval.
Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Thank you. Public Works voted to approve 875, 4 and 0 against.
Councilmember Pridemore.
Budget and Finance voted for approval, 11-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Duval.
Move for approval, please.
We have a motion and a second.
We didn't have one from Walter, I'm sorry.
No?
I'm sorry.
No, sir.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-770 amends the Metro Code pertaining to two-family dwellings. Councilmember Hunt.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Planning Committee report, please.
It's all you.
Planning and Zoning voted to approve Bill 770, 8-4 with one extension.
Is there an amendment?
And we do have an amendment. I'm sorry about that. And John, would you like to explain the amendment?
Sure. This is the notorious duplex bill that the council has been considering for some time. This amendment would add basically a grandfather provision for everyone who has filed an application for a building permit as of today. So if you're already in the system under the old rules, those would apply to you. For everyone going forward, these new provisions would apply.
Do you have a committee report on the amendment?
The amendment is for the 8-4's one extension.
Okay.
And I'd like to move for approval with a brief explanation, please.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Councilman Hunt.
You know, much has been said by all parties concerned, and I have to encourage those parties to continue the discussion between the residents and the builders to see if there is additional agreements can be reached. When that happens, I have agreed to file an amendment to Bill 77 on behalf of both parties. And having said that, I would renew my motion for approval as amended.
This is on the amendment. Councilman Bedney.
I need to be recorded as abstaining on this legislation.
We're going to have a machine vote.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the amendment? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. The amendment passes. Councilman Hunt.
I move for approval on Bill 77 as amended.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman Holloman.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I just know there's been a lot of discussion. I just wanted to be crystal clear that there have been a number of amendments that have been discussed, but the one amendment that was just offered is the only amendment that is attached to the bill tonight that we're about to vote on. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. John Cooper, just a point of clarification. I know there's been some talk about whether or not, and I'll just be honest, about certain height and certain other restrictions. if there's an issue regarding grading or no grading or elevation, they can appeal to the BZA board. Is that correct, sir?
You can appeal to the BZA for a variance if a variance is warranted because of topography or other things that state law allows variances for.
Okay, now, and if you don't know the answer, it's okay, because I don't think we have, well, is anybody limited on a number of variances? So hypothetically, if 20 people applied for a variance, there's no limit to the agenda the BZA board can have, right?
No, there's not.
Okay. Okay, just so that I'm crystal clear, and forgive me, sir. So if tomorrow, if I wanted to come down there and have 50 properties, and if I want to say, hey, I would like a variance because of this issue and that issue, I would be allowed to be heard, correct?
As long as you filed the appropriate application and whatever application fee goes along with that, yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We need a machine vote. I need everyone in the room to vote yes, no, or abstain. Councilman Holloman? Madam Clerk, please close the machine and tally the vote.
I have 33 for, 1 against, 2 abstentions.
Motion passes. Next is BL 2014-833, changes RS 7.5 to SP zoning for property located at 2324 Riverside Drive to permit up to 7 detached residential units. Councilmember Anthony Davis.
Committee report, please.
Councilmember Hunt.
Planning and zoning voted to approve Bill 833. Nope, I'm sorry. They did not vote that. They voted to defer it 1 meeting.
It was deferred by rule.
I will defer for 1 meeting. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second for a 1 meeting deferral. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-838 makes applicable the provisions of the Broadway Historic Preservation Overlay District to various properties located along Broadway, 2nd Avenue South, and 3rd Avenue South. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to move to defer to the second meeting in October.
We have a motion and a second to defer to the second meeting in October.
That is correct.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
BL 2014-841 amends the Metro Code pertaining to minimum size of outdoor animal enclosures. Councilmember Bennett.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to move for approval with a brief explanation.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember Bennett.
I would like to thank Mr. Cooper for his ultimate patience that he shares with us every day. I made the mistake of telling him this is going to be the easiest piece of legislation we've ever done, and boy, did I eat those words. But it was a wonderful process, a very healthy discussion. We worked with the Health Department, with Metro Animal Care and Control. I'd like to thank Mr. Sharp and our new director at MAC. And we changed from what we originally had thought, went to a weight-based system, and I think this will improve the lives of dogs in Nashville by setting a minimum standard for their pen enclosure, and I ask for approval again.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-846 amends the Metro Code pertaining to the administration of Community Garden Grant Program. Councilmember Tigert.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-847 amends the Metro Code to require contracts for government relations and lobbying services to be submitted to the Metro Council. Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Move approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-848 authorizes the Metro Health and Educational Facilities Board to negotiate an agreement for payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes for the benefit of HCA. Councilmember Stein.
Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-849 names the Victim Resource Center in the Ben West Building in honor of Gene Crow. Councilmember Barry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-850 changes the name of Trinity Hills Parkway at the terminus to Vista Lane to Woodland Star Way. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-851 abandons 500 linear feet of 30-inch combination sewer main and 720 linear feet of 6-inch water main along 4th Avenue North and abandons 390 linear feet of 6-inch water main along Jackson Court for various properties located between Harrison and Jackson Streets. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2014-852 abandons a portion of the 4th Avenue North right-of-way and easements. Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. We will now go back to BL 2014-859, which was on public hearing. It changes .16 acres from RS 50 to SP zoning for properties located at 1008 Joseph Avenue to permit up to 2 detached dwelling units. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing none on either side, the public hearing is closed. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Yes, I'd like to move for approval with a brief explanation.
We have a motion and a second. Councilman.
I know tonight that we've had lots of discussions and our phones rung off the hook because of the growth of our great city. And on third reading, I will be adding some amendments to this to make the small development and my neighbors happier about the situation. And I just want to thank my colleagues and the Metro Planning Commission for all their hard work. Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, please say aye.
I didn't go through the first one.